All right, I am live. Let's see. All right. Uh, I'm going to send this in an email to my list. So we're just going to take a second to do this. Let's see. All right. So, everybody, my name is Brie Sodano. I'm a personal finance expert and the founder of From Sheep to Shark, and I invented the invisible system to stop bleeding money and start stacking cash. And today, what we will be working on is some dysfunctions around debt repayment. So, I just need a second to, oh, hey, Angel, to just send this email to my list. I'm trying to do this on my own today. Nobody's working but me. So, if you would love to take a second and just tell me what the weather's like, where you're at, tell me how you're doing today, I would love and appreciate that. All right. So, how do I do this? How do I do this from here? All right. Well, we will just copy this link. All right, everybody. So we're almost there. I'm going to just send this email and then we will be good to go. All right. So that is good. We're going to tell everybody that I'm live. Sending the email. Oh, everybody, it is. Yes. All right, so the email is there. All right, hello. It is cold and rainy. I know, Angel. It's cold and rainy here too. Actually, today I'm doing this live because I'm supposed to go to the amusement park. I got haunted house tickets for my kids, so that way we could go. But it is supposed to be like real cold and real rainy the entire day, like 100% chance of rain the entire day. So we're not doing that. All right, so we're gonna hit live on Instagram, and then we're getting started. All right, so my email's out. Thanks. All right. Hello, everybody. I am Brie Sodano. I'm a personal finance expert and the founder of From Sheep to Shark, and I am here today live with you to talk about debt and the dysfunctions, the scary, creepy Halloween dysfunctions of typical debt repayments. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So if this is your first time ever catching me live, I would love if you would say hello, so that way I could just see your face bubble and I can know that you're here. If you're somebody who watches live all the time, I would also appreciate if you could just say hi. And if you are catching the replay, go ahead and hashtag cash confident. All right, so we are just gonna go ahead and get into it. I want you to know, so I have a brand new course out, Drop the Debt Once and For All. I'm gonna give you some of the nuggets that are in there, so that way, if you don't want the course or whatever, you get something out of this. I want obviously to make it worth your time and attention. But if you do want the course, you can go to www.sharkschool.online. And so we're gonna get into it. Oh, hello. All right, so let's do this. All right. So first, I just want to show you something. If you're on Instagram, you're not going to be able to see this. So if you wanted to hop over to Facebook, you'd see the graphic. But all right. So I just want to show this to you. So if you can see, there is the 7 levels of cash confidence, right? So what this means is that as we grow in our wealth, there are 7 different levels, right? Of basically how somebody comes to be like a financially independent person. Now, the lowest level of where most of us start with our money is, like, the truth is this it's a scarcity state. It's busy, it's broke, it's exhausted. Most of the time, there's a lot of debt at this level. Then once we decide that this is not for us anymore, most of the time we like are like, all right, I'm gonna get my crap together. We're doing this thing. And then we start to really work on managing our cash flow. Right. And so if you've followed my work for a little bit, level 1, busy, broken, exhausted, this is where people start with Find Your Bleed, right? So this is one of my courses. And then from there they kind of move into like the invisible system to stop bleeding money and start stacking cash. Right. And so learning to manage your money is about like learning how to save, learning how to spend, learning how to keep track, right? All those things. Then we move into maximizing our earnings, which is funny because that starts to be way more of an internal game. It starts to be the like, where am I selling myself short? Where am I not asking for what I want, or really valuing myself or valuing my work, right? And then we get to level 4, which is like the stage of accumulation of money. And it's accumulation of money, not just for the sake of like having money for no purpose, but it's like it's level 4 is where the mindset shifts. And it's like, oh my goodness, I want this money to work for me. And that's like the stage where everything shifts. And then level 5 is where we start to really dive into mastering our investments. And so level 5 is about building a skill set. It's not about just throwing spaghetti at the wall. It's saying, all right, well, if I'm going to be a stock market investor, how do I do this? Like, how am I going to be good at this? How am I going to be good at real estate? How am I going to be good at having a business, right? How am I going to be good at whatever I decide I'm going to do? And so then we can move upwards to like, financially independent and then using our money to impact the world. So those are the 7 levels of wealth. And I think that's important to mention too. So that way we have a context of why I think some of this stuff is so important to get into. All right. So I'm going to show you one other graphic on Facebook in a minute. So let me just pull it up so that way I got it ready to go as the time comes. All right. So when it comes to debt, so debt is generally the biggest hindrance of people getting out of levels 1 and 2, those red and those orange levels, into levels like 3 and 4, and here's why, is because, so if you have a lot of debt, it obviously takes up your cash flow, of course, right? Like if you're making debt repayments, then you're not saving that money because you've already, because it was money that you should have saved in the future for things that you needed in the present. And now that's not the way that it works, right? So first and foremost, I want to talk to you about debt and the relationship to time. So when it comes to money and time, I want you to think about, it's very, very simple, right? So look, if we're always facing the past, let's just say this direction toward my printer that you cannot see is the past. And when I look at the door over there, that is the future. So the thing about debt is debt does this. It takes my attention from the present moment and I start to look toward the past. Well, here's what that means. Is that what it means is when the future comes into the present, I am wildly unprepared for it because I didn't see it coming. Right? Have you ever, let me know in the comments if you've ever had the experience of feeling like life came and smacked you around with a bill. Have you ever had that where you feel like, man, I was just starting to get caught up. I was just starting to like feel like I could breathe. And then I needed, and then my car needed a repair. Or then my freaking dishwasher broke. Or then like whatever. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had that experience. That experience happens because we're not looking toward the future. We're not looking toward the future because we're looking toward the past. And so when that happens, when we're unprepared for the present, when we don't have money to take care of the things that have come in from the future in the present, then what we do is we pull money from the future for the present when we borrow it, right? We are taking future money for the present, and then once that goes by into the past, then we have a problem, or then we have debt to take care of that's in the past. And so where most dysfunctions around debt repayment come in is they have you focused toward the past. And then what ends up happening is the plan doesn't work, because as new expenses come in, you often end up borrowing again, right? So the hamster wheel of debt goes something like this, where it's like you have some debt, you try to rush to pay the debt off, you use all your cash flow toward the debt. In the meantime, you're not, maybe you've saved a little bit or you have some savings. But then when life comes and it surprises you with an expense, you're right back to borrowing the money because you didn't learn to have the money. So we're going to talk about this in the context of the 5 pillars. So I'm going to show you this graphic. So the graphic, let me show you, is right here. So look, there's 5 pillars of what it takes. I don't know if you guys can see this because it's kind of small, but there's 5 pillars of what it takes to really really ascend those levels, right? So first and foremost, you need habits and behaviors. You need financial strategy, you need money mindset, you need emotional intelligence, and you need community. If you are working on all 5 of those levels, then you will find that it's very easy to ascend the 7 levels of wealth because you're doing it with your entire self. Most of the time, people can do things in financial strategy, but they can't execute in their habits, or their mindset doesn't support a financial strategy that will work. Or they make the plan and they even make a plan for their habits, but what it comes down to is then they derail their plan when they're feeling some kind of way, and their emotional intelligence, isn't strong enough to help their plan. Or sometimes what ends up happening is their community ends up pulling them back like crabs in a bucket, right? Like it's like, oh, I told everybody I was going to be debt free and they laughed at me. I told everybody I wanted to make $1 million this year and they like, that's crazy, right? Or I wanted to start a business and everybody told me how dangerous it was, right? And so sometimes we have to expand in all of those levels to be able to really, really get things going. So when you think about who, like, humans, humans are holistic, right? Humans are an entire human. We have thought patterns, we have habits, we have actions, we have feelings, we have friends. So the first dysfunction of when we make plans for our money is that money is an in is a currency. It's bits of information. It is a tool. It does not work to make plans for your money. It makes way more sense to make plans for your human self. And like, can you imagine if I said to you, oh, I'm gonna go build a set of stairs. I better make plans for these hammers and nails. Like, you're like, what are you gonna do? You gotta go to the store, you gotta buy the wood, you gotta make the measurements, you gotta do all these things. You don't make plans for your tools. You make plans for how you're going to use your tools. And that is the biggest dysfunction that there is. And here's where it starts, is it's because a lot of times, one, we have some mindsets around our debt that are unhelpful. So if you believe that it's wrong to have debt, that it's stupid to have debt, if you believe that interest is a scam and you didn't get anything for the interest, if you believe that, if you believe that you shouldn't have debt and that it's embarrassing if you do, if you're fighting against the reality of your current financial situation, right? That mindset is going to cause feelings that are unhelpful, right? So if you believe those things, you're going to feel screwed. You're going to feel powerless. People say things to me like, I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I can't get out of this. I feel like I'm trapped. Do you hear the intensity of those words? I feel like I'm drowning. Interesting, right? And it's true. People really have strong, intense feelings around that. So if you have that mindset, it's going to cause that emotion. And when you're in that emotional state, you're going to want to be trying to get out of this. Like, if you are drowning, you take that situation very seriously, right? People who are drowning will drown somebody else to try to get their head above water. Those are people, like, right? That's because that's the state that you're in. It's a fight or flight response, right? It's a panicking state. And so what we want to do is we want to start to change some of those mindsets and change some of those feelings. So the way that I talk about debt, the way that I this is the same method that I've worked with my clients over and over and over again. Now, when you listen to this, some of this is going to seem counterintuitive and it's going to seem like it is slower. You're going to be like, Brie, you're telling me to do something that's going to take way more time. And here's where I challenge that thought, is that if you've been on a debt cycle for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, give it a shot, right? If you've paid your debt off and then put it back on, give me a heart or a like if you've ever paid off your debt and then ran it back up again. I want to teach you a way to get out of debt once and for all. I want to teach you a way to start to be sustainable in your ability to keep your mind toward the future. That's what I want to do. And so I made the course. It's $97. It's on sale right now. The price goes up Monday, so you have today and tomorrow to buy it if you want it. $50 off. So we're gonna talk about it a little bit though. But I just want you to know. Yeah, Angel says that she's done that, right? I'll tell you, I've done it. Pretty much all of the clients who's ever hired me have done it. And most people, as they as they pay off their debt and then run it back up and pay it off and run it back up, that cycle of yo-yo debt, they get more and more embarrassed about it. They feel more and more shameful about it, that they're right back where they started. And that means that there's something wrong with them. I want to free you from the idea that something's wrong with you if that's what's happened, because all it is you're looking at the problem from the wrong lens. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's not a lack of willpower. You're not bad at money for having done that. It's that the way that we look at money from, if you look at money from a strictly outside, what should I do with this money thing? You're in that dysfunction because what it takes to be debt free is being the person who is debt free. So if you're somebody who's always been in debt, who just happens to get a big tax refund or whatever and can pay her debt off, well, you still have the habits of somebody who's in debt. You still have the mindset of somebody who's in debt. You still have the emotional intelligence of somebody who's in debt. And so the fact that you end up back in debt makes perfect sense. It's because we're not solving the problem at the right levels. So when we talk about those 5 pillars of cash confidence, every time, listen, every single time you have a money problem, think about it from each one of those pillars. If you think about it, where's my mind on this? Wow, is my mind really looking to solve a problem sustainably? What's my mindset at? Where are my habits in regards to this problem? What am I feeling in my body? And does that make sense? Am I going to derail this plan because I feel differently about it? Then what's the strategy and where can I go for support? Where can I do this? All right. So Ashley says, always our household income just doubled and I still feel the same. Yes, because you have to change your, yeah, yes, yes. And then here's the thing about scarcity mindset, which is generally going to be a cause of debt. Scarcity is tricky because it's not just a mindset. It's not like just I have a belief that there's not enough. So when information goes into your face, basically, your brain processes it, and the first thing your brain does is it scans for danger. It's like, am I going to die? Basically, all day, your amygdala, your fight or flight response, is checking the world to make sure you're not going to be eaten by alligators, you're not going to fall in a ditch, you're not going to starve to death. Now, scarcity, the way that your brain sends that signal to your body is starvation. So if you feel like you don't have enough money, your body freaks out. Let me know in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. That moment where you check your bank balance and it's overdrawn, or you realize that you screwed something up and you're gonna have to pay something late, or that feeling of having to check your bank balance at the grocery store before you buy. If you've ever had these experiences, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a panicked feeling. There's a panic that comes with it, and that is a physiological response to the fact that your brain is working. So that amygdala response, you will never, never, never get rid of because it's an indication that your brain is working, right? So your brain is scanning for this. But where scarcity becomes a mindset is when we're like, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough of everything. Scarcity, then, because you have this emotional response and that gives a feedback loop to your brain. And so the way that we start to work with scarcity on that level is you really have to start like a practice of noticing what you have and starting to be able to feel safe, which is a topic for a different day. But scarcity, when you're in scarcity, the pressure inside your body, like your body is gearing up to go hunting for an antelope because it feels like you're going to die. When you're in scarcity, that burst of energy that happens, the number one thing that people want to do when they're in the number one question people ask when they're in scarcity is, what can I do about this? What can I do about this? What can I do about this? And that doesn't let up. And so what it does is the way that scarcity works in your brain, because it's an amygdala response, is your prefrontal cortex, where all of your high level thinking gets shut down. There's no glucose for that. Your vision gets about this big, and ideas about borrowing money start to feel real good because what it's going to do is it's going to get you out of this immediate panic state. Right? And so if we maintain that, by never learning to have money, then we stay in that panic state, which is a major dysfunction. So the most popular mainstream advice about getting out of debt is to save $1,000, stop saving for pretty much everything else, and redirect all your money toward debt to pay it off. And that plan could work if you have a very small amount of debt. Like if you have a few $1,000s in decent cash flow, that plan could potentially work. And it's worked for people. I don't want to make it sound like it's not, um, like it never works. It does work for some people. It has worked. But for a lot of people, especially the people who come and talk to me, they've tried that plan for decades, decades, like 20, 30, 40 years, right? And so I started to see the dysfunctions of that because what it does is it's just saying, all right, well, interest is a scam, so we want to hurry up and pay that interest off as fast as possible. But it doesn't, you start a good habit and then you stop the good habit to go back to the behaviors. So listen, the number one behavior or the number one situation that puts you in a place of having debt is not having any money, right? People who have money are typically not borrowing money when they need snow tires or a dishwasher fixed. Like they're paying for that with their savings account, right? So the way to to get out of debt and to stay out of debt is to learn to have money. So if your debt repayment plan doesn't include a way for you to start to have money, even if you pay the debt off, you still don't know how to do this major thing that's required in the ability to pay off your debt sustainably. So listen, every time, like you don't get to stop the future from coming in. You don't get to stop those future expenses because you're paying off your debt, right? Like, of course not. If we that would be great, but that's like not something that's possible. So so are we starting to see the dysfunctions? Let me know if you're following me. I have notes, but I'm a little bit just excited, just like bursting. So let me know if you're with me. So we talked about the mindset. We talked about that emotional intelligence state, right? We talked about how the strategy doesn't work and the strategy doesn't work because it leaves like the habits don't support somebody being debt free. So the strategy of rushing to pay off your credit card debt on paper makes sense, but in the habit level it's not sustainable. That's the yo-yo debt. It's because that's it. And then on a mindset level, the restriction that comes with that always has a bounce back. Always has a bounce back. Right? If you go on a restrictive diet, you know you're falling off that wagon and going on a fucking cheesecake bender. Like it's going to happen. Your restriction always has a bounce back. So if you get real tight with your spending, you're going to binge spend. If you get real tight with your eating, you're going to do it. If you get real restrictive with yourself, there's always a bounce back because that's the way that our brains work. All right. So we talked about those. So here's what so in the course that I'm selling, in the course that's on sale right now for $97 that you can find at sharkschool.online, what I do is I teach you how to look for what is the root cause of your particular debt. And the reason why that's so important is it gives you an indication of where you need to work on yourself, right? So some people, so here's one of the problems with most people looking at debt is they look at it debt like I'm a fool, I was so stupid, I overspend, I am reckless, right? I'll tell you, after working with thousands of people, reckless overspending is very rarely the cause of debt. Unless somebody has some debt that's real old from when they like just graduated college and got their first credit card. Most of the time, that's not the case. Every now and then, I do see somebody doing some reckless overspending, like usually following a divorce, to be honest. It's generally like, and even then, it's not exactly reckless. It's just there's a need to feel like you're building a new person. And oftentimes, you're freshly kind of screwed with your money. And so a lot of times we borrow money for that, which we want to be very, very gentle with because a lot of times it's worth it. It makes sense to do that if you're the person in those exact shoes at that exact moment. So, all right. So the first thing, so are you recklessly overspending? Are you uneducated around your money? Are you um, woefully unprepared? Are you somebody that has a low havingness level? Do you not have the ability to build your savings account? When money gets into your savings account, do you think 10,000 thoughts of I better do something good with this money before I do something stupid with this money? That's an indication of a low havingness level. That's something that you are going to have to work on if you want to stay out of debt. If you don't have the ability to have money, if you've never had $10,000 in your savings account, if you that you've saved, or $5,000, or whatever seems appropriate for where you are, like your income, your expenses, whatever. If you don't know how to have money, you will get right back into debt, I promise you. Because the future is going to come and something is going to surprise you. And if you don't have money, you're going to need money. And then you're going to be in the position of pulling money, borrowing it from the future, and then causing the problem in the past. So sometimes people have debt because of a major life change. And sometimes those major life changes means you actually need to readjust your life, right? So sometimes we end up in debt because we got a divorce, but we didn't change our house. Ashley says, I literally don't know how to have money. Well, Ashley, you should get this course and you should probably join Cash Confident and come to the money mindset meetings, because that's a problem that we solve. Because this is common enough that I'm talking about it to the entire internet. Like, this is the stuff with money that nobody's talking about. Everybody wants to talk about how much you're paying in interest and how interest is a scam, but nobody's talking about, I literally don't know how to have money. Money freaks me out when I have it, because there's so many sensations that happen in your body when it comes to money. And if you're not good, if money makes you uncomfortable to have it, you're going to have debt because you don't know how to have the opposite. Um, so sometimes to get out of debt, we need to look at, like, all right, well, what's going on in my life? Do I need to change anything? Do I need to do something different? So if you've had a sickness, if you lost a job, if you've had cancer, if you had divorce, those sort of things, that can really be a root cause of the debt, which is, so listen, I want you to know the difference. So listen, if you run up your credit cards right after you get divorced, there are different habits to change, different things to do than if you recklessly overspent when you were 22, fresh out of college. Or if you have low happiness level and don't know how to save money, don't know how to manage money. That's different than if you had crappy health insurance and got whacked with a crap ton of medical bills, that time you fell down the stairs and broke your ankle or whatever. And so we want to identify that root cause. And so in Drop the Debt, we have all these worksheets, and I talk about these things because this gives you a really good indication of how to see the pattern that's been happening in the past. Because once you see a pattern, that's like 85, maybe 90% of being able to solve for that pattern. You can start to see it happening. Wow, I'm seeing that. This pattern is happening again. Wow, I'm seeing these thoughts. Interesting, right? So that's the first thing that we do in Drop the Debt, is we start to really look at those root causes. Because when you look at the root causes, it really helps you to devise the plan of action for yourself, right? So how am I going to change my opinions about this, my thoughts about this, right? Then I give you some instructions on, like, actual strategy. And I'm going to tell you again, it seems slower. It seems slower. Oh, look, Angel says, I bought high-end purses thinking it would fill an emotional hole. It doesn't, right? They just look nice. But honestly, an emotional need, a lot of us have debt for an emotional need. That looks like buying purses, buying lipstick, buying new clothes. Sometimes we buy art supplies or hobby stuff, and we never even do the hobby. We just buy the paint. We buy the paint, we buy the canvases, we buy all the fanciest brushes, we buy this stuff, but we never even use it. That's how you can tell that there's generally an emotional hole. If you have more purses than you could ever possibly use, you're probably doing some emotion. You're probably trying to buy an emotion with your money. All right. So you identify the root cause. Then we want to learn to be the person who has money. So first thing is, you're going to stop using the credit cards. We're going to stop using them. And sometimes for us, we want to, for most of us, what we want to do is we want to let our cash flow stabilize. Because especially if you're somebody who's had a lot of credit card debt, and in the course, I go over how to figure out how much money you're looking for, how much money we need to, like, stop spending, how much your spending needs to come back in to be at your level of income, right? And so for a while, we want to stop using the credit cards. We want to let our cash flow normalize. And we want to figure out, what does it actually feel like to just spend whatever got, right? Then once we're there, then we can start looking on like improvements. But first you have to stabilize. That's like the most important thing. People love to try to make big drastic changes to their finances, but then it doesn't work because they didn't give them chance to even get on stable ground before they started to redirect all their money. So we want to this is what we want to do. Then so you want to stabilize, get on some stable ground. So you want to give yourself a couple of months just not using the cards. Then I give you the sheets to work on. I call it a working capital account. So if you're in the invisible system, the working capital account is one of the accounts, and it gives you an ability to figure out, like, you start to look at your irregular expenses, the foreseeable disasters in your life. You start to look at your family obligations, and you want to look at like the self care that you do. That's not every single month. That's not super regular, right? And so you total all of those things up. And so what we're doing when we do that is we move. So look at what we were doing was focusing on the debt in the past. What we're starting to do is saying, all right, well, we're going to stop this. We're not looking past here. We're going to get good at the present. So you take a minute to get good at the present. And then what we do is we start looking toward the future with this working capital account. So we start to figure out how much money we need to save to be able to build a savings account. So that way we could be somebody that has money. Now, in the meantime, you're of course going to make your payments. You're not going to stop making your payments. You're going to make at least your minimum payments. But I would encourage you for at least a little while to just make the minimum payments while we learn to stabilize and while we learn to save. And so then in the course, I teach you three types of savings accounts. But for this what we're going to do is just talk about the working capital, because that's really the most important thing. And look, I'll just show you. Look at what Karen has to say about um, the working capital. So we start to add that up and we start to build savings. Now, this takes a little while to start to be good at, especially if this is something that you've never done before. You may have to do a few months of just saving money, just watching your account build up, just getting good at that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you're changing habits, you're changing all your neural pathways, you're growing into the person who's emotionally intelligent enough to be able to feel the sensations of having money, which for a lot of us is intense. For a lot of us, it causes a lot of feelings of guilt to have money. We have to really face up against our feelings of worthiness or unworthiness, our feelings of adequacy or inadequacy. There's a lot of feelings that money brings up that seems like it doesn't make sense, but I've been doing this long enough to tell you that it makes perfect sense. And so you work on yourself as you do this, right? And so once you get good at having money, and once you get into a rhythm of building your working capital, that's when you choose a strategy to pay off your debt. So I mean, it's the snowball. It's the snowball with the credit card shuffle, the avalanche. Depending on your cash flow, sometimes people need to take out a personal loan or a 401k loan. Those are less awesome options, but sometimes that's required. And then there's always, of course, like consolidation services or even bankruptcy when it's necessary. Um, and all of this, even if you had to declare bankruptcy, which I mean, sometimes it does happen after a spouse dies, after you get a divorce, after a business fails. There's a lot of reasons why sometimes that's the best option, right? You still have to learn all of the rest of what I'm talking about. And so I go over all of that and drop the debt. But so once you learn to start looking at the future, how do I be prepared? How do I do this? Then you can start building up that savings. So this way, as you start your debt strategy, you have money, and you are going to keep those good habits going while you pay off the debt. And so this way, by the time the debt is done, by the time the debt is paid off, you're somebody who's got a robust savings habit, and you're somebody who knows how to save. You're somebody who knows how to handle her emotions. You're somebody who knows how to change her mindset. Now, the last piece around debt that I want to talk about is a piece that most of the time when we have debt, we feel ashamed of it. And that sometimes that's like an embarrassment. Like, if you wouldn't want to tell people about your debt, that's an indication that there's some shame there. Shame, embarrassment, humiliation, real similar vibe. A lot of times also we have some resentment that's with our debt. We have some resentment towards our parents who let us take out these student loans, or to the people who didn't educate us, or to the school systems that didn't teach us the things. Like a lot of times there's some resentment with the debt. Sometimes it's with our spouse, sometimes it's with our ex-spouse, sometimes the resentment's with our kids or our parents or whatever. Sometimes it's with the interest, with the credit card companies, with the government, with those people, right? Whatever. That resentment and that shame lowers your entire money vibe. It lowers your vibes around money. It is really unhelpful. It is really, really unhelpful in paying off anything. And so in Drop the Debt, I teach you some methods to like start to forgive yourself for having the debt, to start to bring some compassion to the discussion, and to really energetically let it go. And what that does is it means that you can move your focus. You can move your focus toward the future. You can move your focus toward what you're building. You can move your focus towards what you're going to give, what you're going to do. All of those really, really important things. Um, Not just being focused on the past, and we want to get to a place where our money doesn't hurt us, where our money doesn't cause hurt feelings. When we like the best way to become wealthy is to change those states, so that way you can feel gratitude, so you can feel joy, so you can feel abundance, you can feel generous. You know, if you sometimes generous causes a lot of fear for us. Sometimes giving gifts doesn't feel good. You know, that's an indication that your money vibe's too low. And here's what happens. Listen, this is gonna sound weird at first. Just go with me. When we have pain, letting the money go out, when we feel resentful spending our money, using the money um, toward the debt, using the money toward whatever, it actually blocks our ability to make more money, because on a subconscious level, your brain sees, "Oh, man, if she makes any more money, we're going to have to let more money go, and it hurts and I don't like doing it." So we don't see all the opportunities, we don't ask for the raises, we don't make as much money. I will tell you that the amount of people in Cash Confident or in any of the programs that I've ever run that get really big raises after doing some of this work is wild. It is wild. Stuff like I just had a client get a $10,000 raise because she finally felt okay to ask for it. She had a plan in place. And so the money didn't hurt her to leave. But kind of think about it like, you ever eat something really, really spicy, and then the next day when you go to poop, your butthole burns? The next time you're at that same restaurant thinking about eating that exact same thing, you're gonna be like, maybe just one bite, because I know what's gonna happen tomorrow if I have all of it. That's the same thing that happens with our money. And that's why working on that resentment, learning to forgive, learning to let a lot of those harder emotions go. Um, oh, Karen, my love. Oh, good. I'm happy that this is helping you. So these are how you cure up some of these dysfunctions. So anyways, so this course is fantastic. It's quick. I've presented this a zillion times. The content is very bite-sized. I'll throw a link up in the comments in case you want it. You can go to sharkschool.online. I cannot type and talk at the same time. Sharkschool.online. It's $97. On Monday, the price goes up. We're doing like a 30% discount, so $50 discount. If this is a problem for you, I really want you to be debt free, because when you're debt free, one, you feel a whole lot of freedom. You're able to redirect your cash flow. Then you have fantastic credit. Oh, another thing that we do in the course that I didn't talk about is we learn how to use our debt wisely. We learn how to use credit wisely. We talk about what's the difference between, like, it's not necessarily good debt and bad debt is a very simplistic way of looking at things. Um, but we do learn how to look at debt in ways that could potentially make more money, right? So a lot of times real estate investors are leveraged. Like I borrowed money when I started Shoot to Shark, right? Like I borrowed money to upgrade my marketing systems. And that debt that I put in helps me to make way more money. And so paying that debt back is fine. Like it's it's fine. Oh, look at so Wendy lobs me a softball here. I am speaking to you, Wendy. I made this specifically for you. So Wendy just joined Cash Confident and she needs to get started. This debt program is part of that, correct? It is. So here's the deal. So listen, this program is $97 and you can get it and you'll be buying the course. So the course will be yours. You will own it. If you have watched my videos for a long time and you decide that you want all of my work, you want Find Your Bleed, you want the invisible system, you want Drop the Debt, you want Money Mindset Bootcamp, you want the full strategy library, you want to work with me, you want me to work on your money mindset with you, you want me to answer your questions, you want me to work with you in a small group on your emotional intelligence, then I would suggest getting the Cash Confident membership. So what the Cash Confident membership is, one, it's $99 a month, or you can buy a full year for $897. What you get is every month I'm live doing coaching calls twice a month. So one is on money mindset and emotional intelligence, and the other one is on like financial strategies, like habits and actions, Q&As on the courses. So those two live sessions are always recorded in case you can't come live. What else you get is you get all the courses, well, access to the courses. The courses are not like, you can watch them while you're in the membership, but they're not yours after you're done in the membership. Actually, I will take a moment to show you what it looks like. All right, so this on Instagram, you all can't see it because I'm on Facebook too, and I'm sharing my screen there. But all right, so this is the Cash Confident. This is the Cash Confident community membership. So as you can see, so I write posts. It feels a lot like Facebook. This is a like our community. The data here is, like this is not out in the wide internet. So you can see, so you have a chance to ask questions and engage without like the ability of like the entire Facebook, every one of your friends and relatives seeing your questions. It's only the people who are in here. From here, you can see what courses we have. Now, I'll tell you, this membership is like less than a month old. And so we're adding more and more courses. We're adding more and more content as we go. So the monthly event replays are here. So again, this is just our first month. So we just have October's. So we did a mindset call and the strategy call that actually just happened a day or two ago. So we'll start to see, that go up. Then so you can go back and once you join, you can go back and watch all these things. So you can see Find Your Bleed. Now, this also has an app. So you can listen to this content like while you're driving or while you're cooking or while you're doing other things. You don't have to be sitting on the computer. So we see these. The Invisible System is there. Drop the Debt is there. Money Mindset Bootcamp is there. The Strategy Library is there. And then like we're adding new content all the time. So we're building a library of content. So for the first few months of this, we will be doing a ton of events. That won't be the case forever, I don't think, but just because we don't want it to feel overwhelming, but I do want we're building up a library of content for this. You can see where when you come into the membership, what you'll do is you will come to this first, and then you will take a quiz. And so this quiz will show you where you are on those like 7 levels of wealth. And so that will give you some ideas of what courses, what programs, what discussions to engage in first. So that way it's not overwhelming and you don't feel like you're trying to do everything all at once. So this is this. So it's $99 a month. You can cancel. You can cancel it anytime if you choose to. You don't have to. It's obviously if you do the full year, that works best because it's less expensive. And to be honest, it does take about a year to go from level 1 to 4. And that's usually like the game change point. Like when you're at level 4 on those, when you're on like here, let me show you. All right. So when you're here, so most people come in as levels 1 and 2, and it does take about a year to go from level 1 and 2 to levels 4. So committing for an entire year makes sense. Plus, then you'll really get a chance to like really work on your mindset, really work on that emotional intelligence piece, because those are the pieces that nobody's talking about, and those are the pieces that really, really make the difference when it comes. So here, I'll throw a link up to that too in case you want that. And let me know if you have any questions. I will stay on for a moment. Cashconfident.com is a sales page for the membership. So either way, I mean, if you have that, if you enjoyed this, I mean, this is my style. If you find that I'm fun to listen to, and I made you laugh a little bit, then I would take money advice from me. But you know, it's up to you, of course. So yeah, so both of those things are available. If you, I think the membership is a better value, to be honest, because you get so much more. But listen, memberships are not for everybody. Not everybody wants the monthly charge. I get that. So you can have just the course, and I'm telling you that the price on that one goes up on Monday. It'll go from $97 to $147. So I really want, if that feels important to you, if getting out of debt feels important to you, I really want you to, to you know, to do the thing. All right. So let me know. Does anybody have any questions? Do you have any questions for me? All right. Well, then I will wrap up. All right. Well, I love you. I appreciate you. I wish you a super wonderful Halloween if you are doing Halloween stuff. And that's it. All right. Bye, everybody.